Good evening, everyone, and welcome to Into the Wild League, Week 1, Night 4. This is Blue Train. I'm joined by my co-caster and good friend Jellycat. How are you doing tonight, sir?
I'm doing so well, Blue. How are you?
Doing all right. Last minute switch-in. Really excited to be casting again. Always a treat. And I think we've got a good match tonight. We've got Navillus and MattAtArms. Really excited to see what they bring. Um, and get this game going.
Yeah, absolutely. So from MattAtArms tonight, we have Hunter Priest Mage from Navillus. We're gonna see Hunter Mage Shaman. So this will be a great night. I think we could have a couple of mirror matches on our hands. Let's see how these folks queue up.
Well, before we get into game, Jelly, why don't you just review a little bit of the league rules, as this is a unique format for those who may not be familiar with the Into the Wild League structure.
Yeah, absolutely. So you'll see the rules on screen. Feel free to read through them. But basically, this is your standard best of 5 conquest format. So players are going to bring 3 classes, no bans. The first player to win with all 3 decks is the winner of the match. You're required to win with all 3 classes that you bring. What's interesting about this format is that it's a weekly format, so it's an ongoing league structure. In week 1, you can bring any 3 of the 9 classes. In week 2, you can't bring any of the 3 classes that you already brought. So you must bring 3 from the remaining 6. And in week 3, you bring whatever 3 classes you have left. So over the course of 3 weeks, we're going to see every player play all 9 classes. And this format is really designed to highlight deck building and get some representation from sometimes underrepresented classes. It means we're not going to see the same list every time. Another great thing about this league is that every other week, we're going to see some really cool deck challenges. So definitely come back next week. We've got 3 different deck challenges, and players are required to apply 1 challenge to each of the 3 classes that they bring. So back on week 3, we'll be back to normal deck building again. No more challenges. Week 4, it'll be back to challenges. So we'll alternate on and off. So really excited for this format. We've had some great matches so far this week, really close ones. A couple of them went to all 5 matches. So I'm really excited for tonight.
And I gotta say, as excited as I am to see these two players compete, really excited to be back on the mic with you again, Jelly. I had a great great time last time on Monday. So this is certainly going to be a lot of fun. So just getting
Yeah,
ready to get into
absolutely.
game one. Stand by.
Okay. While they queue up, we'll talk a little bit about Blue. I don't know how much tournament experience you have, but do you have any thoughts on the strategy that goes into deciding which class to queue up first?
Well, I think that in a typical tournament format, you have a ban, and that generally figures into the strategy. But because this league has such a different structure, there's some particularities that warrant consideration that might be unique to the Into the Wild League.
Yeah, so knowing the class choices that we've seen here from these 2 players, do you have any thoughts on what you would queue up first?
Well, if I were,
I
sorry
mean,
about that,
obviously,
just getting into
no, it's
game.
okay. Obviously, here it looks like MattAtArms queued up Hunter and Navillus queued up Mage. So we're already seeing Subject 9. If you joined us earlier this week, you know this is my favorite card from the new set.
So to
So
answer,
super exciting to be seeing that right off the bat. And he does keep it. It's a 5-drop, a little slow for a Hunter deck, but I think something that's probably pivotal to his strategy. Not only does it draw a bunch of potentially very useful secrets. It combos with that secret keeper there, but it also thins your deck a lot and makes sure that you're not wasting draws on those 1-drop secrets.
right, so to answer the question that you asked while I was multitasking, if I were
Yeah.
Navillus, I would probably queue up the Shaman first, knowing the type of Shaman deck that it is, just because it is it's an even Shaman deck. Just because even Shaman has such a good general matchup against the field, without really knowing what folks are bringing, the even shaman just feels like an all-around strong choice. So that would have been my first choice if I was Navillus.
Yeah,
And
I could definitely agree with that. I've heard different strategies from different people, but in tournament play, I tend to queue up whatever I think my strongest deck is. Unless I really think I know what my opponent is going to queue first, then I'll try to counter queue them. But generally, if I have no idea what my opponent's strategy is or what they're going to queue, I'm just going to go ahead and queue whatever I think is strongest. So from Navillus here, we're uh, seeing him play a secret and trigger a secret, but a little bit about the deck that he's playing. Seeing Molten Reflection there, along with that Sorcerer's Apprentice, right off the bat means that we're looking at some form of Exodia Mage. Now, there's a lot of different Exodia choices and combinations that we've seen lately, with some of the cards from the new set, some without cards from the new set. So it'll be interesting to see what kind of deck text we see from him. Will we see the project? We see the Pocket Galaxy there. So definitely he's hoping to get off that Pocket Galaxy before he draws into Archmage Antonidas, which will make his combo a whole lot easier. From MattAtArms here, we're seeing a pretty typical Secret Hunter deck right now. We're getting a lot of people testing this out with the introduction of Subject 9. If that Cloaked Huntress can live until that Subject 9 comes down and he can just flood the board with 5 different secrets, the combination of Cloaked Huntress and Subject 9 really turns that into a mysterious challenger for Hunter. So super strong combination. If he's able to go next turn Putricide, follow it up with a Subject 9, there's going to be so much value on the board. That said, what MattAtArms is really trying to do here is just power down his opponent before his opponent can get off the combo. So right now, I don't think that Navillus has played anything that makes it clear that he's combo mage yet, but this Frost Nova makes it pretty obvious that he is absolutely not secret mage. So at this point, he's either freeze mage or Exodia mage.
so risky choice to get the Doomsayer down, even though the cat trick was procced. MattAtArms only needs to find 3 extra damage to kill the Doomsayer. I guess luckily for Navillus, he didn't have an answer there, but going out on a limb to try and clear that board, and the gamble looks like it's going to pay off.
You know, I think it's definitely the right choice, considering that Navilus's secret there, you may not be able to see it on stream, but Navillus has a duplicate right now. So if MattAtArms was able to kill that Doomsayer, not only would it prevent 7 damage, but it would give Navillus 2 additional copies of Doomsayer. And I'm sure that's something that he would love to have right now, especially with that additional Blizzard in hand.
Good call out on the duplicate. For those watching the stream, unfortunately you can't see that mage secret, and as I'm watching the same thing that you are, I missed that as well. So you are correct, that would have gotten Navillus 2 extra Doomsayers, which would have allowed that board to be clear. I will attempt to be diligent in calling those secrets so that everyone can stay informed.
Yeah, absolutely. So we're going to do our best to try to fix this overlay a little bit so that you can see those secrets. But right now, I'm just going to keep reminding you, if you hear duplicate more times than you want, it's because I just want to make sure that you remember that that duplicate is there. So you'll be able to see MattAtArms has secrets, but you won't be able to see Navilus's. And just as a reminder, MattAtArms' secret that is up right now is the freezing trap. He adds a cat trick to that. And on top of that, Professor Putricide adds a misdirection. So certainly a lot of dead secrets in this matchup. The freezing trap, the misdirection, not things that are going to have a huge impact on this game. But that cat trick, if he can keep getting those out from Putricide, those are always well liked in this matchup, where all that MattAtArms is trying to do is put as much damage to face as quickly as possible. Navillus probably looking for some sort of freeze here. The ice barrier is likely his best choice at this point, unless he decides that Putricide or that Secret Keeper are a large enough risk to play that boar. I imagine he'll simply go with the safe ice barrier here.
Yeah, that is a fairly large board. Luckily, Navillus does have a lot of different answers to deal with this. The Frost Nova, there's a Blizzard in hand. You know, this is going to be a tough wall to break through for MattAtArms, and the BMs are going out fast and furious here. These two
Uh,
gentlemen are teammates on the THL league, so there's a healthy rivalry going on as well.
yeah, I do want to point out that they do play for the same THL team, so they are great friends. So if you see this BM, it is not in poor spirit. There's the one cost Antonitis from Navillus here. So he's got one apprentice and one molten reflection now. So he's looking for effectively two more apprentices. You see Thorison, not necessary at this point to combo because Antonitis is in hand. So all that Navillus is really looking for here is that those additional two copies of Apprentice. We did see that project. It's actually the first time I've seen anyone play it, but I've seen it in a lot of lists. Really, really interesting card. I definitely think it fits well into this Exodia Mage. That said, it pulled two of the best cards in MattAtArms' deck. So let's see if that becomes relevant here. With the speed at which Navillus is likely to be able to combo it, it may not be relevant at this point. So for MattAtArms here, just a recap, we've got still that freezing trap and that misdirection. We've added a wandering monster, an explosive trap, and a venom strike trap to that. So lots of things happening if Navillus attacks. It'll be interesting to see if he decides to attack with anything at this point. I don't expect really any attacks from Navillus this game if he's trying to avoid those secret procs.
So procking that duplicate got two extra Thorisons in hand for Navillus. You know, his hand is so heavily discounted already. This is certainly going to make getting that combo out that much more easier. I'm not sure that necessarily was the best minion to proc, but you know what? Having two Emperors in addition to the one played can't be a bad thing.
Yeah, certainly not the card that he wanted to duplicate here. I almost wonder if he just runs it out, hoping that MattAtArms will kill it. He certainly doesn't need the discount at this point. He does have three apprentices in hand, so with enough discount, he'll be able to kill MattAtArms without the fourth apprentice. So I wonder if he's trying to do that math right now. So with Antonitis for free, the Apprentice for 1, Molten Reflection then for 2, the next Molten Reflection for 1, that's 4 mana to get 3 Sorcerer's Apprentices, and then every Fireball that he plays is 1. So with any other spell, he could then play 1 mana Fireballs, which would be enough to kill MattAtArms right now. So I don't know if he realizes that, because I think the correct play there would have been Archmage for lethal. I think he's just searching hard for that last combo piece, not realizing that he doesn't need it. So I don't have Twitch chat open, but I wonder if they are going wild right now.
Well, this is the Into the Wild League, so that's a matter of course that everyone goes wild. Chat's usually pretty good at spotting missed lethal, even when the players and casters alike miss it. That's my trademark. I watch Raffle stream a lot, so I've learned really from the best how to miss lethal. Sorry,
Yeah. So
Raffle.
there was no way that he could have known exactly what that primordial glyph would pull, but I think going in there may have been the correct play. So we'll see if he pays for it here. He does have that ice block up, but MattAtArms is going to be able to pop it this turn. So Navillus is going to be forced to go in on this combo, and he grabs the intellect. So the correct move here is Antonitis, Apprentice, Molten Reflection, Arcane Intellect, and see what you pull. That intellect is going to cost 0, so that's enough for him to combo off. So it's actually irrelevant what the Arcane Intellect pulls at this point. He's got lethal. So let's watch his APM as he goes through this combo. Typically this combo, for those watching, even if Antonitis it does not get discounted by Pocket Galaxy. The combo is Antonidas, 2 Sorcerer's Apprentices, and 2 Molten Reflections. At that point, you cast any single spell to generate a fireball, and then you cast fireballs at your opponent's face until they're dead. The fireballs cost nothing. The combo does need the Emperor Thaurissan to discount some number of your combo pieces so that you are able to play them all in the same turn. Previous iterations of this deck played the Quest, the Mage Quest, when triggered, when completed, gives you a spell that gives you an extra turn. So the deck would play some number of Sorcerer's Apprentices, discount the extra turn, then play on the following turn, play Antonidas. But great game there from both players. We saw that it came down to a single turn, and it came down to whether he had that ice block. And he got the ice block, and he was able to combo off in the following turn. So Navillus goes up 1-0. I'm always interested here, Blue. I'll ask you a similar question. When you lose with a deck, do you straight queue it again, or do you switch decks?
So this is where the lineup becomes quite important. So, how does Hunter line up? Well, there's a Hunter mirror. Mirrors always feel bad. And then there's a Shaman. If Matt is going to assume that the Shaman he's facing is even Shaman, which normally would be a safe bet, but this is into the Wild League and people do like to bring interesting lists. I'm not sure how Hunter lines up against even Shaman. Even Shaman has such a knack of capturing the board early. But the Hunter might have more burst potential with the secrets. So
a couple of explosive traps can really turn that game around. So if he thinks he's going to see even Shaman, he may stick with the Hunter list. It is really tough to say. The matchups are really important here. If he expects something else, if he expects a Shutterwalk or something of that may change his calculations a little bit. But let's give these players a chance to queue up here again and see what they end up with.
Yeah, I mean, I said earlier that I would have started with the Shaman, knowing it was an even Shaman. So if I were a betting man, which I may be, I'm gonna go out on a limb and assume that Navillus is gonna bring the even Shaman. We'll find out in just a moment as we get into game.
Yeah, so it looks like we did get that dreaded Hunter mirror. I'm actually pretty excited about this. We've got Secret Hunter on one side. We'll have to see what Navillus has brought here. Okay, so quite obviously, right off the bat, we have a Mech Hunter. So these are, I think, the 2 most popular Hunter decks in Wild right now. We're definitely seeing a bunch of strange Death Rattle combos out of Hunter. With that Void Ripper, I think we're much more combo oriented than tempo oriented from Navilus's side. What Void Ripper does, among other things, is he kills all your bombs. So he does a whole bunch of damage to face after you've played your, what is he, a 5-mana legendary? Your Flark there. So sort of combo potential on both players' sides. Navillus is going to be trying to make as many bombs as he can. We're probably going to see some Feign Deaths. We're definitely going to see that Void Ripper coming into play. On the flip side, cards like Explosive Trap are tough for MattAtArms to play here. He definitely wants to stick with things like that Venom Strike Trap, like the Wandering Monster. These Explosive Traps early on are totally fine, but late game, Explosive Traps can lead to lethal. If MattAtArms gets to low life and Navillus swings into him with a bunch of bombs on the board, that Explosive Trap could trigger all those bombs.
So I have to ask, what do you think of Goblin Bombs? I know that there was a lot of talk about them before the expansion got released, comparisons made to Leper Gnome. A lot of people dismissed it. It is seeing quite a bit of play just by the amount of cards that proc it and just the fact that Magnetic is an ability. I find them to be quite a bit more scarier when I face them on ladder than I thought they would be. Certainly, I think that they will be consequential in this matchup.
So real quick, interesting choice from Navillus there. Driving the Whirly Glider into the Cloaked Huntress. I wonder if he, A, didn't realize that his Goblin Bomb has poisonous, or B, did some math incorrectly there. Certainly not sure what he's going for. I honestly think it's probably just a misplay. That said, to answer your question, I don't know if this is the correct assessment. I have strong opinions about a lot of things. I love Goblin Bombs. I think they are so interesting, both as with the combo potential that you can get. I mean, we'll see if Navilus's deck plays it, but several of these decks have an OTK combo with Boom Master and Feign Death. So it'll be interesting to see if we see that. But even without the OTK combo, you saw him throw the Venomizer on the bomb there. Just little interesting things like that. Giving yourself 3 different minions there that can now be magnetized. And you see the Replicating Menace in his hand. You see that Metal Tooth Leaper that's suddenly going to give him 6 damage next turn off that 1 4-drop. Obviously, at this point, it only gives him it still gives him 6 because he's got the Joey Bop. It only gives him 4 off of the 4-drop, but it looks like he's going to go with the Replicating Menace. Hope that one of his Boombots dies before he tosses out the Metal Tooth, which is an interesting choice. He's
And
saving
just
the...
a note and reminder to our viewers, presently Navillus does not have any secrets in play, just in case anyone was wondering.
Right, yeah, we haven't seen any secrets from Navillus yet. So we did trigger that Explosive Trap. We also triggered that Wandering Monster. As I mentioned, that Explosive Trap forces that bomb to go off. That's actually a really punishing Explosive Trap for Navillus because that Metal Tooth Leaper just lost all of its targets. Luckily, he was able to get those 3/1/1s. The Bomb Toss will create another one. So I think this is a pretty obvious Bomb Toss Metal Tooth Leaper turn to get rid of this 4/4 on board. That Fireworks tech always wants to target a bomb, so I think he's going to Bomb Toss, he'll Metal Tooth Leaper, and then next turn he's got that Fireworks tech to target that bomb, throw some Death Rattle, and pump him up a little bit so that he can attack and Death Rattle again. The other great target for that Fireworks tech is generating 3 little microbots there so that Metal Tooth Leaper has even more targets. Overall, I'm really happy with some of the options that they gave Hunter in this set. It'll be a little bit before we find out how competitive the deck is, but I definitely think they've done some super interesting stuff.
Subject 9 showing its worth right here. MattAtArms is running out of gas, and that really gave him the ability to fight for this board. I think this is going to be a fairly big swing turn with that Cloaked Huntress that just found its way into play.
Yeah, absolutely. So it'll be interesting here to see if Navillus sequences correctly. So knowing that there is a pretty decent chance that MattAtArms has, with all the secrets that he's dropping, there's a pretty decent chance that he'll drop Freezing Trap. You want to be really careful with what you get frozen. So it'll be interesting if Navillus watches that. And great call from MattAtArms not playing that Freezing Trap. He doesn't want to bounce back things like Firework Tech or Metal Tooth Leaper. That said, considering that he killed the Leaper, I'm not sure why he wouldn't want to bounce these minions that have been buffed. I wonder what his thought process is there, because he's not likely to see any chargers that he doesn't want to bounce. So I would definitely want to be bouncing these little 3/1s, and super strange choice from Navillus as well, turning his 3/1s into 1/3s. So perhaps seeing some higher level play than I'm ready for, but also potentially just seeing some nerves at work. It's hard to say at this point.
I mean, turning those 3/1s into 1/3s does allow them to contest the board a little bit better. Maybe he knew the secret was a snake trap, and so he was looking to try and get some staying power on there, just trying to figure out the choice a little bit. Sounds like didn't work out so poorly in this case.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, if he was expecting that snake trap, then he is a better hunter player than I am, uh, which I think is already clear. So let's give him the benefit of the doubt, and assuming that he was making a super tech play.
So the state of the game's pretty interesting. We've got Navillus at 15 health with no board, 1 card in hand, and his draw. MattAtArms, a little bit lower on life, but has a healthy command of the board. Oof, those goblin bombs are gonna potentially be ruinous.
Yeah. So this is the spot that I was talking about where MattAtArms cannot play an explosive trap if he happens to get one. Luckily, he has that decision, so he doesn't need to. Is there lethal, and I'm just not counting properly? Oh yeah. So irrelevant board state. MattAtArms gets the lethal damage. Something you always got to be watching for in Hunter is lethal can come out of nowhere, especially with that hero power. So once again, great play from both players. We've tied up the match. We're gonna go to 1-1, and again, we asked the same question. MattAtArms is obviously going to change decks here, but Navillus can stay with this Hunter if he wants. MattAtArms' other options here are a priest or a mage. So if Navillus is thinking it through, there's basically 3 options on the mage front. It can be some version of Reno, some version of Secret Mage, or some version of Exodia, like he was playing. We do see a little bit of Mech Mage, but I think it's unlikely, and I wouldn't expect it. And then on the Priest side, there's basically 3 different decks you can see on the Priest side as well, right? You can see Combo Priest, which I wouldn't expect in a tournament meta. You could see Big Priest, or you could see Reno Priest.
No one would dare to bring Big Priest to an Into the Wild League match, would they?
I really expect that people would not be crazy enough to bring Big Priest into a match like this. But we'll definitely have to wait and see. That said, so thinking about those options, I mean, if he does expect a Big Priest or a Reno Priest, I think the Hunter might be a good deck to stick with. If we do assume that's an even shaman, then I think he's not going to want to queue that into a Big Priest. He's also not going to want to queue that into a Reno Mage. I think Hunter with the faster game plan is the right choice here. Keep it there. Get yourself up 2 games to keep the pressure. Get yourself up 2 games to 1, and then hope that even shaman can punch through one of the last 2 there.
So you are correct. Navillus did decide to keep the Hunter, and we are seeing a Priest from MattAtArms.
Okay, so certainly not a Big Priest. We have definitely seen that. Interesting to see. Looks like it's an Egg Priest, which is not one of the 3 options that I listed. So I'll be interested to see some of the end game discussion after this match. A little bit of behind the scenes, as Matt and Navillus chatted before the match, we got a little bit of, if I get Barnes high rolled on 3, I'm going to be so pissed out of Navillus. So seeing that Nerubian egg come down, I'm sure he is happy that is not going to happen.
Probably so, but I'm not sure Big Priest lines up so well with this Hunter, so maybe this is going to be a tougher fought game for Navillus. Be careful what you wish for. It might come true.
Yeah, absolutely. I certainly agree with that. We're seeing a pretty similar start from Navillus. We almost saw the identical for that Mecharoo into a Whirly Glider, but Fireworks Tech comes out early to try to really contest the board here. Navillus is just trying to put as much damage to face as quickly as possible before MattAtArms is able to use these Death Rattle eggs to take over board control here. So we see the Whirly Glider come out, get our first bomb on board, and the second Mecharoo. So we're seeing a pretty well-protected board from Navillus here. Even if, certainly he'd lose a lot from AoE here, but he's still going to do a couple damage to face and keep a couple 1/1s. And with Metal Tooth Leaper in hand, those 1/1s can be pretty dangerous pretty quickly. So
We're seeing
it'll be
a
interesting to see if
very developed board on turn 4 from Navillus here, and a sticky one at that. The two Mecharus have that staying power. Not a lot of removal options from MattAtArms here. This might be a tough match to recover from. He'll need to get some.
it could be. It could be a pretty quick game. Nautilus has 20 damage potential on the board with that Leaper, 22 if he coins the hero power. So he could put MattAtArms to 5 right now. But it looks like instead he's deciding to contest the board. Probably a good choice. Obviously, we saw that both of these players are better Hunter players than I am. So, no, to be fair, though, you really want to get rid of that Radiant Element early and quickly. There are too many crazy things that card can do. But we still did see the Leaper here, and because he bomb tossed first, he's able to hit a bomb, which is super important, allowing it not only to attack, but also to kill itself and trigger its power. So we've got lethal on board from Navillus here, and MattAtArms is really just trying to figure out if there's a way that he can punch through that.
Really seeing that burst potential of the Hunter. A 5-turn game. This
That's
is really.
That's the end of the game on 5, and I'm sure that Matt knows lethal on board. His only hope is a misclick at this point. And there's a little bit of extra BM from Navillus at the end there.
Would be a game of Hearthstone without added BM.
Okay, so as I said, Hunter was the correct choice to get him up 2-1 going into this final match. Now, MattAtArms has the advantage of knowing that Navillus is going to queue up with that Shaman. Doesn't yet know whether it's an even Shaman or a Shutterwalk Shaman. There's almost no chance of it being anything else. Who would be audacious enough to bring an odd Shaman to a match like this?
I've heard rumors of a Mechathoon Shaman running around ladder. I don't know if you are familiar with that list, but stranger things have happened.
I've heard similar things. I heard it was attributed to a really just killer wild player who's been cleaning up the ladder. So look around for that in the next wild meta report. Blue's making a joke about the Mechathoon Shaman that we've been testing in the background a little bit. I think it's this close to being viable. So I'm really hoping to either stumble into something that makes that deck good or see something in the next set coming up. So that said, MattAtArms has the option of queuing up again with that priest that we just saw and hoping it can beat an even Shaman or a Shutterwalk Shaman, or of switching over to Mage. And to be honest, I hope that he switches to the Mage because this could be the last game of the match, and I really want to see that deck. Okay, so he does keep the Priest. So we're going to see this Shaman versus Priest. We'll know pretty quickly. Yep, so we are looking at even Shaman here. Even Shaman with Wind Fury, which is an interesting choice. I've got a couple of friends who have had a lot of success with that Wind Fury in even Shaman. One of the things that it's allowing is it's allowing even Shaman to contest the Druid matchup just by, if you can throw that Wind Fury on a thing, on a early giant, on an early 4-mana 7/7, you can put a lot of damage through very quickly. And so in those control matchups, that Wind Fury can put the game away sooner than Druid is able to combo, which has been super interesting.
I was pretty down on the even Shaman deck originally, but I do enjoy its consistent openings. It always has a turn 1 drop, obviously, and there's so many good 2 drops. It just feels very consistent, and in such a weird meta that we have right now, it's nice to see a mid-range deck be able to compete with the big priests, the combo druids, the aggro rogues. So call me a fan of even Shaman, even though I was pretty down on it to start with.
Yeah, absolutely. I think the thing that really makes even Shaman viable, in addition to that hero power that you can always be peppering in there, I think it's 2 things. I think 1, it's the burn. It's able to put the game away so well. And number 2, I think it's the fact that those top-end minions can come down so soon. The fact that you can toss out 7/7s on turn 3, and you can toss out 8/8s on turn 4 or 5, it can lead to some pretty explosive, fairly early games. Now, speaking about Navillus' specific build of the deck, you can see that weaponized Pinata. That card's been popularized on ladder by Slizzle466, a popular wild streamer. And I think what we are seeing right now from Navillus is Slizzle's card for card list that he's been doing well with, although I'm not actually sure if Slizzle was running that Wind Fury or not, so that may
He
be a
was.
technical.
I believe he
Okay.
was. Yes.
Okay, so some very interesting choices from Slizzle. This is a pretty good example of something I say a lot, which is that if you take a great deck and you put bad cards in it, you still do well. It doesn't necessarily mean those cards are good. And I really like the Wind Fury choice. I'm not so sure about that weaponized Pinata. I just
There are so many quality 4-drops fighting for that slot. Piloted
my problem with
Shredder,
that
Fire
card.
Guard Destroyer. Yeah, so, but, who am I to argue with Slizzle's choices? He certainly has, there's method to his madness, I'm sure.
Absolutely. I mean, he's seen a lot of success with it. I know that Slizzle's particular list still plays the 4-mana 7/7 and the Draenei Totem Carver at 4. It still fits in the Jade Lightning, so it's just got a lot of room at that 4-drop. So surprisingly, MattAtArms is contesting this board a lot better than I expected this deck to. He's getting those super important Velen's Chosens right when he needs them. And even that Deadly Fork is interestingly going to have a relevant Death Rattle. So
Relevant board
pretty
presence and a relevant death rattle. This is Deadly Fork's time to shine.
Pretty interesting devolve there. I always like to see what we get. Okay, and he manages to pull another Elixir of Hope here. So he's still just trying to create as much value as possible from his board. Okay, let's see our first random legendary. Zola is not a bad option at this point. You're really going to hope that that's able to hit a 4-mana 7/7 or even an 8/8. Certainly could see worse legendaries. Actually, at this point, you might see that Zola hit a weaponized Pinata.
Is that the definition of the circle of life?
Knowing Navillus the way that I do, I'm really surprised that he's running this specific list, because I have it on good authority that Navillus hates cards that have the word random on them. So I'm pretty surprised that he's running it. I think he might just be looking for an excuse if he happens to lose. So we'll see what this second weaponized Pinata pulls here. See if he'll have an excuse to get tilted.
So is it fair to say that that source is Navillus himself?
Yeah, it is fair to say that.
All right.
I was asking him what his bio would look like, and he responded, the first line of my bio is, I hate cards with the word random on them. And full disclosure, I had seen his deck before this point, so I happened to know that he was running the Pinata. But it's interesting that he still did that. So that lady in white, really interesting play here, mostly just because it makes Flametongue Totem a 3/3. That's basically the only thing that it does in the deck. It makes the Flametongue Totem a 3/3, and it makes the Merc Spark Eel a 3/3. As far as I know, it doesn't change anything else about the deck because he's already played both Pinatas and he has the Gen in hand. So everything else in the deck is already symmetrical.
We are seeing MattAtArms run away with the board here. This is not the state of affairs that I thought we'd see going into this game. Typically, that's the even shaman's domain. So this Egg Priest deck is really holding its own here. I have to say that this is a pleasant surprise from a deck perspective, I suppose.
Yeah, this is absolutely not what I expected from this specific matchup here. I honestly thought that Matt was in a tough place going into this even shaman matchup, but clearly he has some more experience with this deck than we do, choosing to stick with it, knowing that there was a pretty good chance that Navillus was running even shaman. Um, Navillus was able to turn that around a little bit on that turn and pick up a lot more of the board, but that extra arms there is gonna take his Radiant Elemental out of range of that Shadow Word Horror, allowing him to completely clear the board. Great play from MattAtArms there, putting Navillus to 11 and really on his heels here.
And there's the concede.
Seeing lethal from MattAtArms, knowing that he has no way to he gives up that match, and we go to 2-2. So thankfully, we don't have to ask the question about what these players are going to queue up. So hopefully they go ahead and queue quickly, and we'll be getting to find out what MattAtArms mage deck is. So it's going to be an interesting mage versus even shaman final match here for the match. Once again, we're going to all 5 games.
Yeah,
And I think
little bit of trivia. Jelly and I have casted 2 games for Into the Wild League, and both of them gone to game 5. So 100% of the
I,
time.
I would like to keep this streak up. I definitely prefer matches that go to 5 games. That said, even going to 5 games, it's 10:20 right now. So this match started under an hour ago, and we've already gotten through 4 games. Going into game 5 right now, and between even shaman and mage, unless we see a Reno mage out of MattAtArms, I expect this one to go pretty quickly as well.
Well, here we go. We are in game 5.
It'll be interesting to see if MattAtArms has brought some sort of combo mage. We're seeing a whole lot of combo mage recently. I think some of the new cards. Okay, with Open the Waygate, it's pretty obvious that we're going to see a combo mage. Clockwork Gnome raises some really interesting questions. So MattAtArms with the fastest possible snap keep there. All 3 1-drops, easy keep, I think. Navillus ends up with no early minions in his hand. All that he's got here is totem into totem into totem into thing from below.
He does have the
And
Jade Claws, which will help mop up some of these early minions, so not the worst draw. Could be better, but still some options if he wishes to take a more proactive game line.
yeah, so we're certainly seeing a pretty obvious mech mage out of MattAtArms with that Clockwork Gnome and that Galvanizer. So interesting to find out why he's playing the Open the Waygate. I can only think of one thing. Blue, do you have the same idea that I do?
And the only reason I have that idea is because I saw the deck list. I would not have guessed it in 1,000 years. But why don't you share the overall game plan with the audience?
So this is a deck that I've only seen once, and I have not yet seen it played. But the purpose of that Open Waygate is so that when you play Mimron's Head has a turn to trigger. So I'll remind everyone here what Mimron's Head does, and that is that if you have enough mechs on board, and this deck is designed to have enough mechs on board, it destroys them all, and it creates Voltron. And Voltron is a very large minion with Super Wind Fury? Is that what it's called?
I think it's
Is it
Mega
called?
Wind Fury.
Is it Mega Wind Fury?
I believe it is.
Clearly, we don't even know what the card says because no one has ever played this card before.
I didn't know how to pronounce it before this match because I never had to say it out loud.
Yeah, so there was a Mimron's Head deck before that I don't think played I don't think played in Mage at all. I'm pretty sure that it was playing. What's the Clearly, I haven't played that long. What's the rogue card that gives all your minions stealth?
Conceal.
Yeah, there you go. So I'm pretty sure it's a Mimron's Head Conceal deck. That is the only time that Mimron's Head has seen any play. But it'll be interesting to see if he's able to pull it out with this deck, and if this deck picks up at all.
Certainly drawing a lot of
So,
cards with the Book of Specters. Getting 3
hey,
off of that,
perfect
always great.
Book of Specters there. Not only does he get 3, but he gets the Babbling Book to give him a spell, and he gets the Stargazer Luna to draw him additional cards. Um, so couldn't have asked for a better Book of Specters there. I wonder if MattAtArms is going to try to go for the combo here, if he's keeping that Mech Warper Galvanizer in hand to try to combo off with Mimron's head. Um,
I want to see this combo happen. I know that we're
I would
not supposed to have any bias, but I mean, come on, it's Mimron's head. We got to see it, right?
I would like to see him pull off the combo and then lose, if I'm being perfectly honest.
All right, well, I could live with that too, I suppose.
No, to be honest, I would love a deck like to be viable in this format. I don't honestly know if it is. MattAtArms, pretty great cleanup here. Looks like he's going to Frostbolt that 7/5, setting him up to kill it next turn. Let's see. I think he'll probably go. Oh, not what I expected at all. Looks like he's Mech Warpering.
So it's possible that he's afraid that the Shaman's going to start flooding the board and he wants to contest it so Navillus doesn't get lethal on board. I assume. Maybe that's not such a terrible choice because looking at Navilus's hand as we start to get out of the mid game, you know, 2 thing from below's the Wind Fury. You know, there's quite a bit of damage in there, and I think we have a game.
Yeah, absolutely. But with that, with those Jade Claws into Maelstrom Portal there, Navillus is able to clean up the whole board. We see that he high rolls that healing totem. We see that MattAtArms doesn't actually have a way to kill that 4-mana 7/7 now, which was certainly his plan the previous. Except for the 4/4 that's on board. Clearly, I'm a little bit tired, Blue Train.
That's all right. I didn't see it either, so I think we're both in the tired camp. But
Absolutely missing the obvious cards sitting in the middle of the board.
wow.
For some reason, I honestly thought that Navillus cleared the entire board there. Obviously didn't. Um,
That was a heck of a turn drawing cards. Book of Specters with the Archmage, Arugel, getting a full hand, you know, reloading, although Navillus has got a lot of gas left as well. So this is certainly a real slugfest for Game 5.
Only burning the shifting scroll there. So far we've only seen 2 cards to trigger that open the way gate. Looking at the board that Navillus is creating right here, with the weaponized pinata in hand, with the rusty horn, I don't know that combo is going to become relevant. MattAtArms here, whether he combos that with Mimron's head or not, mechs are still his win condition, and he's got a couple of pretty big taunts to power through at this point. So some interesting back and forth in this match for sure. Board
There's
clears on
the
both sides.
ubiquitous Giggling Inventor, just seeing play in both Standard and Wild. So much value. 2 mechs, 2 Annoyatrons, which is a good minion in its own right. You know, allowing MattAtArms to contest the board. Those 2 thing from belows are nasty, and you know, if Navillus draws a few more tall boys, could be big trouble for MattAtArms. And the thing about Even Shaman is that, you know, most decks can go wide or tall. This deck does it all. It can be really hard to answer the questions that Even Shaman asks. And there's that Wind Fury, which is maybe going to pay some dividends.
Just 5 damage here. It's going to allow this thing from below to get through that taunt and hit face. It's the first damage that Navillus has been able to do to MattAtArms' face here. But with a deck like this, we're probably not seeing any defensive tools from Matt. So we're not going to be seeing an Ice Block. We're not going to be seeing any Frost Novas. So with, what is that, 16 damage from Navillus here? He may just... Oh, sorry. 21 damage from Navillus here. So he may just want to be relying on his taunts to slow MattAtArms down enough to be able to swing for lethal. We'll have to see. I think he'll probably decide to take care of this Luna. I think it's it's probably too much of a threat to leave on the board. But it'll be interesting to see if he tries to clear anything else or if he just goes face.
I
But
think the
Dire
Luna gets removed. It's too strong to leave up. I mean,
considering that his thing from below has Wind Fury anyway. Okay, so he does just decide to go straight face. He's gonna forget about that Luna and just assume that Matt has no defensive tools to come back from this right now. He does still have the option to trade into the Luna if he decides to get rid of it. And that's what he's gonna do.
yeah, I was gonna say it strikes me as odd if you can't close out the game to leave out Luna. Just the card draw potential is so dangerous, and then he can proc the quest and steal the game from there.
Yeah, so... absolutely. I think killing Luna here is really the right play, but I was worried for a second that he was going to leave it up. Decides to get rid of the Mech Warper as well, which I think is also a good call. Since he's got easy lethal next turn, just get rid of all the enablers on Matt's side of the board. Matt doesn't have any way on the board to kill the thing from below, so Navillus has got to just make him have the card, right? So that Ziliax will do it.
Yep.
That'll kill that thing.
Get a little bit of healing, get a taunt minion up.
Yeah, absolutely. So that's super big, I think, from Matt's side.
We are one card away from proccing that quest.
And I think we're about to see it right here.
One after this one.
Sorry, one after that.
Looked like he was going to play it. I guess he's still contemplating. Yeah, there we go. So
well, that Mecharoo right there will trigger the quest. Because remember, that one is from Arugula.
Arugula.
Oh, I'm sorry.
It's not a spell, so it doesn't.
Only triggers on spells. So Arugula does not help in this case. You can see how often I've played Mage Quest.
And Arugula, or Arugal. I like Arugula better. I think I'm going to adopt that and start calling him Arugula.
I mean, that Arcane Missiles will trigger the quest, right? That's not in the main deck.
I believe you are correct. I should think so anyways.
I can't imagine that would be in the main deck here. Not in a Mech Mage.
That Ziliax did work, putting MattAtArms back up to a higher health total. Not out of the woods yet, but still hanging on. And the Shaman just showing its resilience. That board has been filled with 6 or 7 minions. It feels like the whole game. But this is the opportunity that MattAtArms has to turn it if he can find the right answers, because there's only one card left in Navilus's hand. It's a spare part. Looks like the one that freezes minions. So hopefully Matt will be able to proc a lucky Greater Arcane Missiles. This will give him the quest.
There you go.
Not enough to play it this turn, however, but unless things go poorly, I think that he will have an opportunity to play it. I guess the problem is play the quest and do what?
At this point, I don't think we're going to see him be playing the quest anytime soon. I think he's going to save that quest to try to win with Memron's head there. We're seeing a 9-mana 5/5 out of Navillus here. Opposite end of the spectrum from a thing from below, but certainly not the worst minion that Weaponized Pinata could have pulled.
Certainly better than a Doomsayer from a piloted Shredder, so clearly Pinata is a solid choice.
Yeah, certainly true, although I do want to remind you that Pinata can always patch it. So,
not big patches, just good old Patches the Pirate, yep. And Lore Walker Cho.
He can pull a vanilla 1/1. He can pull some pretty terrible stuff.
Yep.
Looks like Matt is thinking about the Time Warp here.
trying to decide if he really wants to take care of that Ozric. He's also flirting with lethal here, so
I think the second Blast Mage was a good choice. I mean, you really want to be holding the board. I mean, the Time Warp is potentially an out from lethal or potentially winning the game if a Mimiron's head is drawn. So I think that was the correct choice.
yeah.
We shall see,
Although
however.
at this point, that Mimiron's head is not necessary. If MattAtArms is able to get, yeah. So if Navillus doesn't clear Matt's board here, he's got lethal with the Time Warp. He should definitely be crackling one of those 5/3s.
Mimiron's head is always necessary, sir.
Because he knows the Time Warp's in hand. So I'd be shocked if he leaves them both up. Okay, so we did see him clear completely. I think that's the right choice. We're probably going to see Mech into Tinkertown Technician here.
This game has been a slugfest. Yeah,
see if he can pull the taunt. He gets the worst of the spare parts.
I mean, we're getting to a point where both players are just top decking and trying to have the answer to close this game out. This is really a true game 5. But it's interesting how effective the Mech Mage has staved off the even Shaman. I would not have expected it, so another surprise. From MattAtArms.
Absolutely. Some very interesting choices, and honestly, great play from MattAtArms. But that's the game here. MattAtArms wins this one on, I don't even know what turn we're at.
With the Time Warp proving to be relevant.
Really interesting game. Oh, once again, I'm calling it too early. With the freeze, Navillus prevents 4 damage. Unfortunately, MattAtArms gets the 4 back. This Time Warp will win the game. Looks like Matt's counting it up right now, trying to make sure that he doesn't screw anything up. And there it is. With the 4 damage, 5 cost minion. And unfortunately, the Mimiron's head comes 1 turn too late. He's not going to be able to proc it.
Wait.
It looks like some long BM from MattAtArms.
Wow.
Assuming that those Annoyatrons are going to stop Navillus from winning the game, Matt throws away the win just to proc a Mimiron's head. I've got to give him props for this, and you can bet there will be a question about this at the end of this game.
Well, you made a comment earlier that you wanted him to play the head and then get punished. I'm inclined to agree. This is the most extended BM I've seen in a friendly match for quite some time.
I mean, Matt's got to be assuming that worst case scenario, he sees a top deck devolve. He gets his board devolved and he takes 6 to the face. Still leaves him at 6. That's his worst case. So he had a pretty good shot to proc Mimiron's head there. And here we go. I've got to assume that the vast majority of people watching this match have never seen a Mimiron's head procced. So I'm glad that you all got to see that.
Mega Wind Fury giving you 4 attacks instead of the usual 2 for the game. What a showing.
And there it is. Big props to both players. Extra props to MattAtArms for that extended BM. Let's see if we can get these guys on the line to talk about that game.
Yeah, I will go ahead and message them right now. So some really great choices from Matt. Interesting deck lists, the Mech Mage, the Egg Priest. Really like that Egg Priest. It performed a lot more consistently than I thought it would. So really great deck choices from Matt.
Yeah, absolutely. It'll be interesting to see how many of those are Matt's originals and where some of the other lists may have come from. I know on Navilus's side, that Shaman list is Slizzle's Shaman list.
Although he didn't initiate even Shaman, he did make some of those key changes to the deck. And I know that mage list that we saw from Navillus with the Pocket Galaxy and those projects, that's Shokunen's Exodia mage list.
All right, so Jelly, I'm going to go ahead and get Matt and Navillus on the line. Please stand by for just a quick moment.
Yeah, absolutely.
We will be right back.
Okay.
All right, so getting Navillus and MattAtArms on the line and trying to get Jelly as well.
Jelly's already on the line. Don't
Excellent.
worry about it.
Quick on the draw.
Okay, everyone. So great finish to that match. What do you guys think?
I let Matt have that on the last game just so he could do that.
I'm just so happy you didn't roll Spell Power Totem or draw a Hex.
I was looking for Devolve Man, and then you drew the that Inventor, the mini Void Lord.
The giggling, yeah.
Yeah. I was like, of course you would top deck that. But good game. That was good.
That was a lot of fun. I was on the edge of my seat. I don't know if you guys were, but I was on the edge of my seat that last game.
We were speechless the last turn of the last game. We thought that was an easy lethal pickup, and then it didn't happen, and we were trying to figure out what was going on. It took us a few seconds to realize that we were witnessing the BM of all BMs, so well played, sir.
The intention was to set up for lethal with the quest reward, but as soon as I drew Mimron's head, I had to play it.
And Matt, as soon as you played that card, I came so close to hitting the concede button just to, I'm just kidding.
Yeah, once he goes for the extended BM, and there are viewers watching, you gotta let him pull off that Voltron.
I was like,
well done from both players.
Thanks, man. It was good. It was fun.
Yeah, I had a lot of fun. That Hunter deck, Navillus, is sweet.
Oh, you didn't see the Boommaster Flark or Feign Death? I had that in there as well. I was just the combo.
Dirty.
The combo is to play Flark to get the 4 bombs out. The next turn, Feign Death, and then Void Ripper, and yeah. So that's just kind of like a little combo to help close out the game at the end. But I'm doing pretty good with that deck on ladder, so it's definitely viable, and I'm climbing to. I think I'm almost to rank 4 with it, and so. But I'll share the list on Twitter tonight, and so if you want to check it out, I highly encourage to play it. It's almost like a Hunter token deck because of all the bombs that pop out, and then you can just buff them with the card that gives the Leper card that gives them all +2 attack. That card's really good.
Metal Tooth.
Metal Tooth.
Gross.
Yeah,
gross.
Yeah, that Metal Tooth was. I just had that hand on. I think the second game I played it against your priest. That I'm like, oh, this is a good draw.
So yeah, we were talking when you were playing that last match with Hunter about the little BM there of killing your bomb instead of going face. And then we noted in this final game that Matt paid you back with the extended BM.
Yes.
So I was glad that you two were able to trade BMs there.
Yes. Go ahead. Sorry.
I was just going to say certainly some really, really interesting decks and really interesting play. Can I ask a question that Blue and I were talking about throughout this match is the decisions that go into deciding which deck to queue up in which order. Do you guys have thoughts on how you decided the order to queue?
Sure.
I'll go first, Matt.
I knew the Hunter deck was good because I saw Nate play it earlier this week, and I'm the one who gave it to him. So I knew I could at least pull at least one win out of it, hopefully the first game, but obviously that didn't happen. But that's fine. So I knew I could at least pull one out of it. After that, it was kind of a coin flip. I was most confident. The second most confident deck was that Priest deck. even though I drew like absolute trash the first game.
It showed. We were really impressed how well that priest deck contested the board against the even shaman. Like, we didn't think it was even going to be close, but it did work. I mean, that's a deck that I'm planning on trying out. It certainly impressed me.
The
Yeah,
only
honestly.
reason, and the only
Oh,
reason
go
I
ahead.
put the extra arms in there is because I am mad at arms, and that's because I had to throw that card in there.
I saw that when you played that. I was like, yes, he had to. Because I read it, I'm like, what is this card? I'm like, oh, never mind. So yeah.
Yeah. So honestly, after that first game, going into the second game with that priest deck, we were not expecting to see the game that we did. We weren't expecting you to be able to contest the board nearly as well as you did.
Yeah, that's
So
one thing. If I can get the eggs popped early, and you saw I had the two Twilight's Call in my hand. I can stay on board, stick on board, as long as I can possibly can with that deck, and that's one thing I love about it. It just like it does not go away, and the fact that you saw nothing in the first game, the Anduin just can close out a game, especially with reduced cost spells off um, the Radiant Elemental.
yeah, absolutely. So the only other question I have is how much of the I guess what went into your deck choices for this week? How much of the deck choice was about decks that you thought were really strong and likely to win, and how much of it was just about bringing some cool stuff?
Um, with me is Matt and I are teammates for the Hero Power Rangers and the Team Hearth League, and so I know he likes to do off the wall stuff. And by the way, this is not the only time he's won with a crazy combo on stream. I believe you did that with the Quest Druid that time. There was a time he was on stream. You need to
Yeah,
post a video of that. Yes.
I remember I was playing Quest Druid and I pulled
Mm-hmm.
out Malagos with my Oaken Summons and continued to burn face.
Yes. And so knowing Matt and his, I knew he'd probably bring at least one normal-ish deck, and that was the Secret Hunter. And the other two, I'm like, I saw you bring Priest, and I'm like, I know he's not playing Big Priest because he hates Barnes. And so I was,
Well,
and I'm just
he
like,
hates Barnes, but we also heard how much you dislike cards that generate random cards as well. So there's always some flexibility with our positions, right?
I'm playing Hearthstone. I can't get away from the word random, so it's
Fair enough.
I can't
So
get
speaking of
away
that,
from it.
Navillus,
You saw
how
it.
did
You
how did
saw it
you?
with Shaman. Like all the against the priest game, all my like randomness, like if what it did against me. Like this is why I don't play random. Like devolve and yeah. Okay. Anyway, but
How did you feel about those weaponized pinatas?
something. Slizzle has a much better pool with those than I do. Okay, because they say random on them, and I don't.
I have to check the VOD. I have to check the VOD, see what you pulled. I know you at least
Yeah.
got Lady in White.
I pulled Zola and Lady in White, and what else did I pull?
That
No, just
9
those two.
mana 5/5 taunt.
You pulled
Oh yeah,
Osro.
Ozrak, yeah, that's right.
yeah. So my deck choices going against Matt, I'm like, I'm just gonna bring one of the most unfair cards in the game into a deck, and that's Ice Block. And so I'm just gonna stall, and I'm like, okay, I'm like
It paid off.
Exodia, yes, Exodia Mage. I'm like that top decking that Ice Block that one turn. I'm like, yes, and then playing what is it? Luna's Pocket Galaxy, that card, and then drawing the Archmage for one, and I was like, yes.
Yeah,
And
as soon as I saw the Archmage for one, I think that game was put away. I think you actually may have been able to combo off. I didn't do all the math, but I think you might have been able to combo off one turn earlier. I don't know if you did the math.
I did. I was doing the math and I realized I was running out of time, and I'm like, okay, I'm pretty sure I can survive one more turn. And so I'm like,
That's a great call. Yeah.
So I'm just like, okay, before I mess up, because I was doing the math in my head, I'm like, okay, if I do pull this off, am I going to have enough time? And so I'm like, I'm pretty sure I'm safe one more turn. And I was just praying for nothing that would destroy secrets or anything that Matt would play. But
yeah, I like that call a lot. Honestly, I'd have to watch the VOD to know whether you quite get there, because I know it was one mana fireballs.
yeah,
So the extra turn certainly easily put you over the top. So
I think I would have, but it's like 10:30 where I am, or 10 o'clock where I am when I was playing it, and I'm just like my mind's a little fuzzy right now. I'm like, okay, math is not my strongest right now, so I'm just gonna pass the turn and do it again.
Yeah,
So that was
certainly a
sick.
good
That
call.
was a good play. That was good.
Yes, and so then but that I need to get that mageless, man. That mech mage. Like, I had no clue what you're playing. I'm like, okay, either I'm gonna beat him very close by like a small margin, or he's gonna do something incredibly crazy and he's gonna beat me. And you beat me incredibly crazy. So
Yeah, the key with that mage list, quite honestly, is just trying to go off with Arugel and what's her name? The new card, the 2/4. If you
Luna.
can,
oh yeah.
Stargazer Luna?
Luna, yeah, if you can pull off some crazy Luna stuff, especially with the spare parts that you, I think I missed. I made a mistake. I should have, when I drew the Yeti, I should have traded the 2/1 in and get the spare part and drawn another one off the spare part, but that's fine.
Sure.
But
But
that's
you
yeah.
got a lot of value off both Arugel and that Luna, and I think that really kept you in the game long enough
Yeah,
to
and like
VM. So
Not to
yeah, and the
mention the
fact
Book of Specters as well. Both of those Book of Specters drew lots of cards for
they
not a
drew
lot of
like
money.
oh
yeah,
yeah,
like
perfect. I
yeah,
mean that
yeah,
Arugel into the Book of Specters was great. The Book of Specters for 3 early was super good.
mhm.
My
Yeah.
my
There's I mean,
proudest
the only
moment in
spells,
that game
the only
was the
yeah.
crackle on the Ziliax for 7.
Yeah, high rolling the crackle is huge. I mean, you
I,
may not have pulled the best random minions, but you're high
yeah.
rolling in the right places.
I was like, yes. I was like, well, I'm still probably dead, but that was awesome. Anyway.
Yeah, that Ziliax saved my butt right there. I was like,
Oh, dude.
it's
Oh
like
my
if
word.
the fact you didn't trade into the Yeti just made me so happy.
I should have traded. Like I go back. I may. You played very well. Don't get me wrong, but I'm
Yeah,
looking back right now. I'm like, I could have done all this differently. Why didn't I do?
Hey,
that's
hindsight's always 20/20, right?
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, yes. And I had
I
no
think
clue what Matt was playing either. So I'm just like, who
well,
I.
I can pull off the quest pretty. I can actually, like my ability to pull off the quest is pretty good with all the spare parts. Like I
Mhm.
literally have every card that says spare part on it in the deck. So
it's great. So if any
That was.
viewers are still watching, just filter your collection by spare part, toss them all into a mage deck, add quest,
Mhm.
Mimron's head, and you're good to go.
yeah, and
Mhm.
I think the only spells I do run is like the shifting scroll because it actually procs the mage quest somehow,
Yep.
and
And those primordial glyphs,
and
right?
the primordial glyphs and the two Book of Specters. That's
Yeah.
it. That's the
Mhm.
only spells.
Yeah, so
What? What?
that makes your Book of Specters pretty consistent.
Yeah,
Yes.
I tried to lift a couple list iterations with fireballs and like a more like regular style mech mage, and it just it wasn't as consistent. And so I just like, okay, let me just cut all the spells except for these and see how it goes when it's been doing work for me. So
Nice, nice. Oh
Well,
man.
congratulations to both of you. Thank you so much for bringing some very interesting decks. Thanks for both bringing original creations here. And of course, congratulations to Matt-at-Arms for that win.
thank you.
Big
Good
congrats,
job,
man.
Navillus. Good.
No, it was fun. I hope we get a rematch sometime down the line.
Heck yeah.
So
Yeah,
before
absolutely
we
gonna be watching both of you.
wrap and close the stream, did you guys have any shout outs or any projects that you wanted to highlight before we take our leave? Matt, why don't we
Uh,
start with you?
yeah, go for it, Matt.
First of all, I want to shout out Magooch. That was his mage list that I've taken and run with. Is his original idea. So he's a friend of mine in the Dills patron Slack group. Also, shout out to the Hero Power podcast. I'm a new host for them on Wednesday nights at about 7:30 Eastern. We talk about Hearthstone and we play some decks afterwards, and it's a good show.
Mm-hmm. Cool. For my shout outs, I'd like to give a shout out for Shokuen. I believe he's also one of the casters for Into the Wild for the league. And he actually shared the mage list with me with the Luna's Pocket Galaxy and a few other different cards in there. So shout out to him for that. And Also, shout out to Nate and Craig for starting this too. It's been a
Here, here.
blast, and thanks for the invite, both of you, to do this, and thank you for you guys for casting. Thank you
Yeah.
for letting me spam your direct messages with my deck list, and then changing my hunter list like 5 times before tonight in 24-hour period. So
Hey, well, it worked out for you in the end. You were able to get a win with it. So clearly the right thing to do. But yeah, we were happy to cast. Apologies that it is so late here. At some point in that last match, I was looking right past minions on board. So you'll have to cut me some slack. But it was a great time. Really fun to see you guys play. Looking forward to both of you as this league goes on.
thanks, man. Thanks, guys.
Yeah, thank you guys.
My pleasure. So that'll do it. Thank you everyone for watching. Much appreciated. We'll have more games coming up. Stay tuned to the Into the Wild Twitter for those announcements. Take care and have a great night.